Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined by Dakota Lasky, Doom Crossing. It's the last episode before Christmas. So happy holidays everybody. And before I introduce you guys, what I want to do is just let all of our listeners know right off at the top of the show, we're taking next week off because we didn't really feel like recording on Christmas Eve. So there's no new episode next week. There will be an episode the week after that, so you won't have to go too long without new Omega content. Just wanted to throw that out there. Gentlemen, how are we feeling on this beautiful Monday?
Pretty good, Andy. I do want to say, though, if you are starving for some Metroid content next week, the Geek Critique is currently re-reviewing some classic 2D Metroid games, leading up to a brand new review of Metroid Dread. So if you're starving out on some Omega Metroid, there is still some fantastic content out there for you to consume. But back to the show topic. Yeah, it's been a really fun weekend. You might know our friend Joey Ferris, who we had on the podcast last year in November, where we pitched a Metroid Fusion remake. Mm-hmm. And I actually got to meet and hang out with him in person yesterday at the SAC Gamer Expo. Had a lot of fun. Great dude to talk and chat with in real life, and hope it's the start of many more to come. And I finally finished my very first JRPG ever, Super Mario RPG. And let me tell you guys, it's a pretty fun, charming, and cute game. I'm very glad that I gave it a chance.
I can't wait. I have a whole Christmas list for you of RPGs to check out, turn-based RPGs to check out, so I'm excited. I want to pick your brain about that later. But first, Dak, how you doing? You feeling okay? Your team... Well, they didn't make it.
Hey man, the writing was on the wall for quite some time, I think, for us this year. But hey, there's always next year. There's always another Jets season to lose, to watch, and suffer through. So no big deal. That said, though, I did get to watch the Devils beat the Bruins at home at the Prudential Center last Wednesday.
I saw that. That looked like a blast.
In overtime. It was a great time. We had a group of Boston fans behind us who were pretty rowdy, and they were having a good time, and it was funny. And then we tied it up at the end of the game, and then we won an OT, and they were quiet. They quieted down real quick, but it was a good time, and yeah, that was fun. This past weekend, I've been grinding. I've been talking to y'all about it on the Discord. I've been playing Fortnite Rocket Racing. I don't know what it is. I'm just really into this game, and it's been a nice change of pace. So I've been grinding that, like nonstop. That's like the only game I've played, I think, in the past week since it dropped. So that's been fun. And then I'm excited, obviously, aside from the fact that it's Christmas, but also I'm seeing the Iron Claw movie this Thursday on the 21st. Stoked. So very excited about that. Looking forward to it. So yeah, can't wait. Got good stuff coming up. Good stuff this past weekend, and looking forward to the holidays.
I really want to see that movie. So I'm going to see Godzilla -1 on Thursday, which I'm also hyped about. I've heard it's awesome. You know, I've kind of I found myself in like a little gaming hiccup here, where like I finished like Sea of Stars, so I got the Castlevania Advanced Collection. I blitzed through all 3 of those, and now I heard from a little birdie that Santa might be getting me something under the Christmas tree this year. So like I don't want to start anything like too big, but like I gotta play something. So I've actually been playing. Have you guys ever played Hotline Miami?
No, but I know what that is. Yeah.
Very fun. If you're into like synthwave, it's a must buy. So I'm replaying that, so got that going on. So yeah, having a good time with that. So yeah, this again, as we said, this is our last episode before Christmas, and actually, I want to say it's our last episode of 2023, because the new episode will drop January the 2nd, if I have my dates correct. So
that is correct.
Let's just, in case we forget at the end, obviously want to thank everybody for their support for Omega this year, and wishing you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a safe and wonderful New Year's. So just wanted to throw that out there for everybody. Let's get to it here, gentlemen. We have, a bittersweet show today, I think, because over the last week, it was inevitable, but it stung nonetheless, I feel like is a good way to put it. And that, of course, was the official death of E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, which has been a staple since God, like 1996 of the gaming community, and really 1995, yeah, even earlier, really was like the big event for that year. And we talked about the Game Awards a little bit last week, and I just I don't know about you guys, but like I feel like at its height, like E3 was just on such another level than like things like the Game Awards or the Summerfest or like whatever it is, and like the writing was on the wall. And actually Nintendo basically kind of injected them with a slow burning poison when they started creating their Nintendo Directs, and everyone kind of followed suit, and E3 kind of became irrelevant a little bit. And so it's not surprising to see it disappear, especially after COVID, and even like especially because the last couple of years before I thought were kind of weird. Like I remember that PlayStation E3 where like everybody was shuffling to different rooms and stuff. So I thought that was kind of weird, but I was a little bit sad because I've covered a lot of E3s for Zelda Dungeon in my day, and there's a lot of unforgettable moments that have occurred at E3, which I'm really pumped to go over and Doom categorized all these different lists or different events for us today, and I'm really excited to get into them. But just really quickly, like I guess just like thoughts on the death of E3. And Dak, let's start with you.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned like how Nintendo kind of injected a little bit of poison with the Nintendo Direct, but I think we all know that like this was just with how social media and like entertainment and media has been distributed in general over the past decade. I think this was kind of inevitable, right? Like this was something that as media and gaming and esports become more compartmentalized, where now I don't have to have a big show because I can run my own conference on my own channel, on my own streaming network or whatever it is,
For free.
all on my own terms for free. All of a sudden E3 kind of, becomes obsolete, which is a shame because E3 and there's so much to say about how amazing E3 was back in the day, but it's something that I don't think we'll ever see again because there won't really be a need for it, right? Like back in the day, E3 was something that you couldn't access as a as the public, right? You had to work in the industry. So it was like this exclusive look when you could see into these conferences or like coverage on G4, this exclusive look into this, like the Super Bowl of gaming where like the biggest announcements happen. You had to, keep your eyes on it. And nowadays, like games can be revealed at any company's state of play or direct or whatever Microsoft does, right? And it could happen at any time during the year. And so it was inevitable, but it's something that at the time was so cool, was so unique. Obviously, growing up, like that's something that I, followed E3 coverage on G4 on the internet where I could. That was coveted stuff. Like I had a lot of fond memories following on what was being announced at E3, who was at E3. And nowadays there really isn't a need for it anymore because of how easy it is to get information across, how easy it is for publishers to do their own thing on their own terms. So it was inevitable, but I think the writing was on the wall was probably when like COVID happened, because at that point like it was going all digital. There was a Summer Games Fest, the Game Awards, because now like E3 was like it was open to the public, and because you can get all these things, there was really no need to have E3. Whereas the Game Fest and the Game Awards, you had all those big announcements along with the big awards, which E3 never had, and it had this kind of different like pomp and circumstance that E3 brought at one time, and now the Game Awards and Summer Games Fest kind of bring in a different way. So it's. Yeah, it sucks because E3 is a very, very special part of growing up with games for me. And I know all three of us have a lot of fond memories, as we'll talk about, following E3. And it sucks that we won't actually get another E3 anymore. We won't be able to go again if we so choose. And even though it'll never really be what it was, it's still, the end of an era. The decisive end to it is still, like you said, bittersweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much additional, thoughts to add on that front, because again, it's, fairly self-explanatory. Like the writing was on the wall. COVID just kind of almost speeding the death, if you will. One thing I do want to, I guess, highlight though is that when we say that, there isn't really a need for E3 anymore, we're specifically talking about that from a publisher's point of view. I think E3 for developers is still a huge blow to developers because there were so many network opportunities, and we've actually, heard a bunch of, everything from like indie developers to like major players like Hideo Kojima talking about E3 and basically how like that one show, I think Kojima in particular, made a long post about how if it weren't for E3, he probably wouldn't have been able to break into the West and, get the kind of reputation he has today. And so I think having, the loss of such a massive event like that is going ultimately not a great thing for the industry, but it also, just the way that technology has progressed and, companies have evolved it, as you guys said many times before, the writing was on the wall. And yeah, it's unfortunate. And then from a more selfish point of view, yeah, like E3, like I'm not exaggerating when I say it, was my favorite time of the year. Genuinely, a lot of people referred it to.
Too, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. And I know that, in the back of my head, like at the end of the day, it's a giant commercial, but it's like, yeah, it's a commercial for stuff that I'm interested though. So like I want to watch, a week's worth of commercials for that.
It was also always like a good like mixing pot too. Like E3 was always a great time to like learn about new games you never would have heard about before. Maybe not even been interested in. And then it's also a time throughout the year when everyone in gaming had all eyes on the same thing. Like didn't matter what kind of games you were into and all that. It was all in one place. And the Game Awards is kind of that, but it doesn't again have the same level to it. But yeah, that kind of melting pot. I mean, it was kind of like the old MLG events. Like nowadays, you have like esports leagues for every individual game. But back in the day, like MLG, you could have like Halo and Call of Duty and Gears, like all those crowds mixing together, and those were like that was really unique. And E3 was kind of the same thing. All the different audiences mixing together for all the different interests in games, and you learn about things that you were excited for and things you didn't even know about. And I think we'll miss that because you have these like. You're only going to get Nintendo news from the Nintendo Direct. You're only going to get Microsoft news from the Microsoft. Maybe the Game Awards, maybe a couple things. But it's not the same as like those awesome like Sunday Microsoft press conferences or like the Tuesdays with Nintendo and Sony back to back, something like that. Like that was a special kind of like viewing experience that you don't have a lot, even just in entertainment in general these days. Like how spread people's interests are, like to have those focal points that everyone's watching is so really cool.
You made a great point. Like it was like a sporting event almost. If you're a gamer, that was like that was your sporting event. And actually, one thing that I think is like really underrated about E3, which I loved, is there was a set time and day for it. Like that's something that kind of drives.
A week. Like you knew when was happening and what, and like you kind of like
you could build up anticipation. Like now you kind of, I mean, we all know like generally speaking when Nintendo Directs are going to happen in the year, but like it's not uncommon for Nintendo to be like, hey, we've got a Nintendo Direct tomorrow at 6:00, and you've kind of got like 12 hours or 16 hours to get really excited for it. Whereas like E3 was just like, okay, like 2 weeks coming, I'm booking the day off work. Like I've got my list of predictions of what I want to see. It was just like this whole, it was this whole glorious like event. Yeah, and like you're totally right. Like for me, like I felt like I was an informed gamer because I used to watch the whole thing. And like, would I have bought an Xbox if I hadn't got to watch E3? Like I don't know if I would have, because I was like, not really interested in that when I was younger. But I was like, man, these like. This Arkham game looks kind of cool, or like Halo 3 looks pretty sweet. You know what I mean? It was just like, it was such a wonderful event. And to your point about networking, Doom, I definitely think that is spot on. Like, I think PAX is kind of on its way there, but it's certainly not on the same level. And yeah, it's, we're going to miss that one event that really like unifies people to come together for like that one big thing, because it's like the WrestleMania of video games, and like now that that's gone, you just have like a couple shows every year that all seem like they're really big.
It was like a sporting event too, because like every year, like you always remember, even recently, people being like, whose press conference was the best, who won E3, who was better than who, whatever. And like that was a big part of the experience. Like who had the better E3, who had the best announcements, who had the best games come out, and whatever.
I loved that too. And like
that was a big part of it.
When you were a kid, you're just like Team Nintendo would be like, yeah, suck it, Sony, like your E3 sucked, and whatever. Like obviously childish.
Well, I would even go like even when we're adults now, like, and we're far past the console war stuff. At least we are. I can't speak for all adults, but like even then, like it was just fun to like just see who came out on top, like just for fun, like.
just to poke your elbow at your PlayStation friend or something like that. So hey, you know that presentation was the best I've ever seen there.
I mean, it was easy as a Nintendo fan. We had a solid stretch in the mid 2000s, just like solid E3s back to back to back to back. Like it was easy to point fingers, and then
and then 2008 happened.
We had some stinkers in there too, though. I mean, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Then it was followed with a bunch of stinkers for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we go through and take a trip down memory lane, and we're going to talk about some of the highs, some of the lows. I think we got our rose-tinted glasses on, or at least I do. So these mostly look like highs
Definitely
to me.
do.
So we're going to take a trip through, and shout out to you, Doom, for putting this list together. I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
And let's start off in the year 2001, and this was arguably one of the greatest E3s in the year of Metroid, because not only do you have the Super Smash Bros. Melee reveal where Samus is coming back. I haven't watched the trailer yet, but like you had Ridley in that awesome opening cutscene, which was, I remember seeing that being like, whoa! But you also had, of course, the early reveal of Metroid Prime and Metroid 4, which we know as Metroid Fusion. Both of which would go on to become these iconic, majestic games that we still know and love and play today. So a really great exhibition for Metroid at the 2001 E3, which is awesome, because like really that was, when E3 was debuting, that was immediately after Super Metroid, so you didn't have a whole lot of Metroid stuff there.
Yeah, I think let's just point that out, that this is like, we're starting in 2001. This is Metroid's first, as far as I know, like appearance substantially at E3 at all. So we're 22 years in the past, but I would say, what was at that point, 5 or 6, 7 years into E3 existing. And as you mentioned, there wasn't any Metroid going on at that time. But it is, when I was going through my own list, I'm like, wow, I always thought like, yeah, there really hasn't been a lot of Metroid at E3 throughout the years. But then Doom put this list together. I'm like, oh, Metroid has actually had a pretty good presence, at least the one thing at a bunch of E3s every few years, like since 2001. And yeah, it started out with Melee, and then Prime 4 and Metroid 4, Metroid Prime 1 and Metroid 4 Fusion. And that's one of the years it's hard to top that.
I might have said that this might have been the greatest year until like the last year that Metroid was at E3, but I'm watching this Metroid Prime trailer, and it's so good. It has like this classic, like, it's almost got, I don't know if you guys ever watch Batman Beyond, but it's got like the intro to Batman Beyond kind of vibes. There's just like this cool cartoon intro or something like that, where it's got some like funky music playing in the background, and you've got to see this. I'm gonna link this document that Doom made in our show notes, but you've got to see this Metroid Prime or Metroid 4 trailer to believe it, because it's something else. It's beta
it is
footage,
very
let's
early
just
in
say.
development.
Yeah. Oh my god, Samus is like walking on walls and walking on the ceilings.
Yeah,
this is unbelievable. I actually don't know that I've ever seen this. This is great.
Really? Oh yeah, I can't remember like when this resurfaced, but yeah, I remember the game definitely looks very rough, but that's like one mechanic that like always stood out to me, like these anti-gravity mechanics, and I'm like, I feel like that should return in a future game.
Yeah,
especially on like modern hardware. I feel like there's a lot of potential there. But yeah, this whole E3 2001 is really interesting stuff. I specifically wanted, as much as possible, at least in regards to the press conferences, I wanted to show live footage as much as possible, because I wanted to get the audience and kind of the journalist and the press reactions to all this stuff as well. Because I think that can also be very telling to, like, the state and the interest in Metroid as a whole at that time. And you go to that Melee trailer, and one of the biggest pop-offs during that trailer is that Ridley scene. Like, the crowd goes insane during that, as they should. I think the only other big pops during that are the Sheik reveal, and of course the reveal of like Melee itself, the actual title reveal.
Right.
Which is really interesting. And then the Prime stuff is obviously very early footage. It's actually really interesting because while the game technically wasn't announced before this, there was a Space World, which was another show Nintendo used to do, a tech demo they showed using those same assets, where they didn't technically reveal the game. It was more like an example of what the GameCube could do, and it's the same place where that infamous Zelda demo was shown off before the Wind Waker reveal as well.
That's right. And if you guys don't mind, I might even pepper in a few Zelda memories that I have while we're going through here. I'll make it quick, but I do want to shout a few of them out.
Oh,
Well, do we
I
want
mean,
to go
there's definitely one
chronological?
E3 coming up where it's relevant.
I guess we're just gonna go chronological then, so we can just shout things out per show. Since I figure,
Yeah, I mean, we could do this
So
however you
going all
guys
the way
want. I
back.
was going to start chronological, but if you want to do it a different way,
yeah,
we
let's
can...
let's just do it chronological, and if we have any call outs for that year, Metroid or not,
Yeah,
we can
sure.
call it out.
So yeah, 2001, a great year. Even though we're seeing a lot of unfinished product, just the fact that there's more Metroid on the horizon is just so tantalizing. But of course, it wouldn't be until 2002 where these games really start to take form. And so we have a Metroid Prime trailer, which actually isn't very long. It's only like a minute or so long. Although I guess like the whole presentation was about 50 minutes long or so. And a Metroid Fusion trailer. And these games now look exactly like the games that we know and love. Not like a whole lot that I would add to them, other than just it's cool to see like specifically Metroid Prime just kind of like be revealed and showing off like the Parasite Queen and like all of the stuff that we know and love about that game. It's cool to see it like realized for the first time. And just as someone that like I was my peak like console war fanboy day. I think I was like 12 or something like that then. So I was like, like, oh yeah, Metroid looks so good, it's better than Halo, and so just to see that like in action, I felt like so, I guess relieved is the word, to see that like looking as good as it did, because I really wanted it to be really good.
Yeah, I don't really remember any. I don't think I actually was. I mean, I was pretty young at this point. I was 2002. I was, you know, 9 years old. I think I don't really have any memories of like experiencing E3 or like, oh, I watched this like E3 trailer. I definitely watched all this stuff back like after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, it is cool to see like the difference from 2001 to 2002 for both games. I still like that even 2002, it's Metroid Fusion still has that like different like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like Spider-Man kind of font going on with it. I don't know what you'd call that, which eventually goes away, but that always that like immediately makes me think of the beta footage and whatnot we see from Space World and from E3. And obviously there's a big difference from Metroid Prime's 2001 reveal to 2002. 2002, as you said, it looks great. Looks exactly like what we end up getting. 2001's reveal like is kind of eh, I think if you saw that, you'd be like, I don't know if that's gonna be good. And then if you see the 2002 footage, you're like, oh, okay. Like if you had any doubt at that point about a first-person Metroid game,
Yeah.
I feel like you'd have to kind of get rid of it, because like that, it's a really awesome, montage of gameplay, which looks really sick. It looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, I think I was still too young to really fully remember seeing any of this at the time. But yeah, I mean, 2 years in a row of Metroid, where again, this is a time when Nintendo was full steam ahead with Metroid on both platforms, which was great. This is what got me into Metroid was Prime and Fusion coming out at the same time. So, and they're still to this day my two favorite games in the series. So yeah, this is awesome. I love the throwback Fusion beta text footage in the footage. I love that kind of gameplay in there, which obviously is very reminiscent of the Fusion we played right now. But seeing the dichotomy between the 2001 2002 is really cool, and obviously returned with dividends, because both games turned out amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, like you, Dak. Like you, I didn't really discover E3 until after this period. It was either 2000 or 2003, 2004 where I even first heard of
2003 for me,
E3.
I think. Yeah.
And then 2005 was the first E3 I actually watched, because that was after I discovered G4, who would premiere these conferences live, which just blew
Yeah.
my mind back in the day. But yeah, pretty much same thoughts there. I mean, Prime in particular, like the glow up is unreal. Even more, I would say the glow up from the beta footage to the current state of Prime is even more so than from the current iteration of Prime to Prime Remastered, which in and of itself is
Oh yeah.
also
Yeah,
an
I
insane
think
glow
so.
up.
It's like different like models and assets. Like you can
Yeah.
see in the 2001 footage, like Samus looks very much like Super Metroid Samus and like Melee Samus, and then obviously you see a much different Samus in 2002 footage.
Very sleek, very just very like good looking. The game obviously cooked for a
Less
long time.
chunky and round.
Yeah, and it looked great. And like you're right.
Yeah.
Like I think if you had doubts about it, you maybe had to cast those aside a little bit, because it looked awesome. Let's go over to 2003 here. Not a whole lot for Metroid, but we do get the announcement of a sequel to Metroid Prime. It's like a super, super, super quick little teaser trailer. I actually, when I was watching this, I thought that it's a space pirate attacking Samus, but it actually kind of looks a lot like Trace from Metroid Prime Hunters. Or I don't know if that you guys thought the same thing, but when I saw that, because the space pirate appears and it's red at first, and I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. Don't know that I ever made that. I've seen this before, but I don't know if I ever like made that connection until like just watching it earlier today.
Yeah, it's probably just a coincidence. Honestly, I think the more Trace-like connection is just the fact that it starts out invisible and then kind of like emerges, which you don't really. I mean, you see them kind of teleport into place, but you don't really see them have a cloaking ability in Prime 2. So I thought that was really interesting. It's also funny because they make this look like it's going to be like the new main villain, but it ends up just being kind of, you know, the generic space pirate forces that you fight
like a space
in
pirate,
Prime 2.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure at the time, though, if you had not thought that was the main villain, you might have thought, oh, man, the space pirates are really kicking Samus's butt. Just one of them's taking her on right now. But I don't think there's enough information to go on that where you could even make that assumption. You might be like, oh, this guy's really strong. Must be the bad guy. Yeah. I don't remember any thoughts I had about this. So this is definitely one of the earliest like E3 things I can like remember seeing somewhere on the internet, as far as I know.
right?
But I don't remember like any thoughts I had about what I thought about it, aside from it was cool, and I was excited about it. You know, I was certainly more excited for Halo 2, which was probably like the first like that big tech demo was probably like the first like thing I remember like being really pumped about, you know, eventually like reading about and seeing, you know, clips from. So yeah, I mean, that
was 2003? Because I thought that was 2004.
Wasn't there an original 2000? Wasn't there a first gameplay reveal in 2003
Of
Halo? Yeah,
Of Halo 2? I can't remember.
Halo 2.
But
yeah,
but I'm also not as familiar with.
Yeah,
I'm not as familiar with Halo at E3 as, you know, I am with Metroid.
Yeah, there was like
obviously.
there was like a 10-minute gameplay through like Metropolis or whatever. Yeah, it was 2003.
Right. I seem to remember 2003 for Nintendo kind of being a stinker that year, and I want to say there was a Pac-Man game that was like their big game for that year, and I remember watching because Zelda had just come out like a month before in the West, so like
What, Pac-Man versus?
Yeah, maybe
That's
that's
what I'm
it.
about?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they showed off Four Swords Adventures in like maybe it was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Like every game they showed off had like the gimmick of needing Game Boy Advance to GameCube connectors to play.
Right.
So I remember it was just like it's kind of like a stinky direct, I thought, but you know, that was just the appetizer for what was to come next year, because I think if you look at like the Metroid E3s, 2001 is amazing. Obviously 2021, which we'll get to. I think you could make a really good case that 2004 is like a high upper echelon year for Metroid.
I mean, many people will call this like the greatest E3 conference of all time in general, which, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a final reveal I'm sure we'll talk about after we get through all the Metroid stuff, but
it's hard to, I mean, it's kind of hard to dispute that, right? Like this is, you know, for our generation, I'm using that loosely. I'm older than you guys, but like, you know, Reggie Fils-Aimé was the man. Like he was Nintendo, right? And like this is Reggie coming in and taking charge. And you know, Nintendo had always kind of been a little bit shadowy, a little bit bland, and like here was this guy full of like flavor and just personality. And what was his opening line? Like, I'm here to talk video games, or
my name's Reggie. My name's Reggie. I'm about names. I'm about kicking ass.
Yes.
And here at Nintendo, we're about making games. Cue Metroid Prime 2 Echo's full reveal trailer.
Yes.
Insane opener.
So good. Like that's like, oh my god, what a moment that is in time, man. Like just an absolute wicked debut for Reggie. Metroid Prime 2 looked great. And you top it off with the announcement of the Nintendo DS and Metroid Prime Hunters really leading that charge. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how Nintendo will go to like what the Wii becomes like only a few years later, because it feels like such a complete change from this like hard, like kick-ass, like yeah, like we're chewing bubblegum and eating video game consoles or whatever and making games. And then like they revealed a year later the Revolution, which would become the Wii, which is like just feels tonally so much more different. But yeah, that Reggie intro, the DS reveal, Metroid Prime Hunters, which I forgot they initially revealed it as like the gameplay is on the bottom screen and the map is like on the top. I didn't remember that until rewatching this. I was like, whoa, that would have sucked. I'm glad they didn't do that. But I also forgot about not just the original DS, the fat DS, but the original prototype DS that's shown off there, which looks like a knockoff like Razer phone like prototype almost, which just what a throwback. But yeah, this was like, it kind of felt like such a big shift for Nintendo. I mean, I knew what Nintendo was kind of growing up, like that kind of like family friendly, whatever. And this kind of like this is like Mario with the tribal tattoo kind of stuff, like this is where we were changing to it. So yeah, this was hype, and one of the most memorable E3 conferences of all time, like Metroid or not, for sure.
I mean, yeah, it's got like, I think like it's got to be up there as like the E3 conference. Like the way Reggie just comes and claims that stage, my God, it's so good.
Literally, like obviously we know nowadays that like Reggie is just an absolute legendary, influence in the industry. He has such a commanding presence when he speaks, but like even just back then, like no one had ever heard of this guy before, and like in just one sentence, just immediately like everyone knew that this guy was the real deal.
Yeah, Reggie is the man. I miss Reggie. I miss seeing him on these Nintendo Directs. So 2005, let's go over to 2005. And like I mentioned, I'm old enough now where I remember the lead up.
Wait. We just skipped ahead. Did we not just, I thought we were going to talk about the huge thing that happened at the conference in 2004. Did we not just talk?
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm breaking my own rules. Okay.
I was like
2004. 2004. Sorry, I had my Metroid hat on, but actually, I literally have a Metroid hat on.
Because if we do only Metroid memories and go through all the years,
you're
we're gonna circle
right.
all the way back and do the all E3 memories. No, we're just covering it year by year.
You're right. Okay. Well, then let's set the stage. Let's set the table. So you mentioned that Space World demo earlier with the Zelda fighting or Link fighting Ganondorf. Fans were so pumped. They were like, "I can't wait to play that game." And then we see The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. And at the time, and I was there on the message boards on GameCubeLand.com. At the time, everyone's like, GameCubeLand.com.
Wow, what a name! Continue, please.
I'm like, this looks cool. It doesn't look kiddie or whatever. But in my heart, I was a little disappointed at that art style. I've grown to love it now, but at the time, I was like, dang, I wish it went with something else. And so everyone's just like, everyone's kind of accepted that's the future of Zelda. And then E3 2004, there's one more thing. And this wicked epic music starts playing. This shot from the back of this horse with this gallant warrior on it. He's riding towards this enemy on this wicked sunset. It pans around. It's Link! It's Link, and it looks so awesome, and the music is going crazy, and like swords will shatter and shields will break or whatever it was, and like this guy, he's slashing people on the horse, and the crowd is going buck wild at this reveal. This was the single greatest. I think it's a single greatest moment in the history of E3. It was so awesome, which is ironic because Twilight Princess isn't really even my favorite game, but like this was so unbelievable. It was so awesome, this trailer, and you got the reaction guy meme, which still lives on to this day.
I was about to say the Per Schneider meme. Like, this is where it originated.
You know what? Shout out, by the way, to our boy Kiwi Talks, who may or may not be getting what he said is a founder of IGN on his show pretty soon. So I'll definitely be tuning into that.
He already confirmed on YouTube. He did interview Per Schneider. I believe the episode is getting released later this week, and he already posted the timestamps. It looks like a juicy interview. I'm very excited to see that.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting him once in San Francisco, and he was super, super nice. I only met him for obviously 2 minutes. I was doing the IGN tour, but he was so nice. So this reveal, this was so wicked.
Yeah, I don't think many people will dispute that this is like arguably one of, if not the greatest E3 moments. Obviously, for me, mine's a little different, but like even as someone who's not as much of a Zelda fan as I am for Metroid, I mean it's undeniable. Like this was such a game changer, and then especially at the very end with Miyamoto coming in
Yeah.
with the sword
Oh
and
my
shield. I feel like that was
God.
like that was like the cherry on top. Like that was where the crowd just like absolutely like had an out of body experience. You know?
Yes.
I mean, Andy, I definitely feel you there from your story because if you remember the Zelda Wii U demo from E3 2011, and I saw that, I was like, wow, can't wait to get a game that looks like that. And then we got Skyward Sword, and I was like,
I know.
that doesn't look good. So, yeah, I mean, this trailer, you've all said it all, but I think this is one of those like best like feel good videos to go back to.
Mm.
You're just like you can hear the crowd, you hear the reveal. It's awesome. I always love the Twilight Princess like horizon, like sunset kind of vibes with like on these huge barren fields and the armies like charging across, which I feel like Ocarina of Time never really captured that entirely. So yeah, and Twilight Princess is still to this day one of my favorite Zelda games. Much as I love Wind Waker, but yeah, this was super hype. I don't remember how I watched this back in the day because it's I don't think YouTube was like a thing yet.
No. No.
I don't remember how I watched this, but I know I did, and it was yeah. This was this, and then I think the only way that the next year somewhat topped this was because of the big console like reveal. But like this was, I was like, how do you top this? Especially with Metroid Prime, I was like, nah, this is gonna be sick, and it was. I love Twilight Princess.
For my money, I think the only trailer I've ever seen in my life that I thought was better than this was that that Switch presentation that they did in 2017, where they had that amazing Breath of the Wild trailer at the end. And I thought that was like the world's best trailer. And I still do. I watch that back all the time. But I also watch this back all the time. It's so like it just gives you goosebumps like watching it. It's so awesome.
I was about to say I got goosebumps like as I was compiling this list and like revisiting some of that. I'm not even gonna lie, I even got a little teary eyed watching some.
Yeah,
of them.
some
Like,
of these
like
watching these, I definitely
like
got
watching
like worked up a little bit.
Yeah.
like especially like I feel like it's the crowd reactions again, especially like watching that Melee
Yes.
trailer and hearing everyone like, oh my gosh, they love Samus. Hey.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like it's so good. You know, sometimes Dak, you might appreciate this. Sometimes I watch like a video of Canada scoring the golden goal in the 2010 Olympics in hockey, and like I get a similar, and you see shots of like all these different Canadians celebrating at all these bars across the country. This is like the same energy as that. It's like it's unbelievable. It's so
It's like when you have like a
awesome.
wrestler's entrance or like a match when you hear the crowd pop off. Or like I love listening to like live shows for like music because I love hearing the crowd, and it's something about it that just is beyond just a studio version. But yeah, this reveal is huge, definitely up there for me. I have a couple that are higher just because I'm a bigger Halo fan, but
Yeah.
this is like a top tier reveal that I wish I remember how I watched it at the time, but
You make a good
I've gone
point. I
back
wonder
to
how we did watch that
because I know
watching
I've
it
watched
live.
these things. Yeah, but it's not like I want to say there was some kind of player like
There must have been like
on
the
some
E3 website or something. I don't know.
like I don't remember how I watched. I know for a few years you could like watch some of the stuff on like the Wii like E3 channel, and I think there might have been like a website you could like an E3 website that maybe you could have.
Yeah, I know
I wish
Nintendo
I
at least
knew.
had an E3 website where you could watch some of their where you could like
Yeah.
watch some of their press materials.
That
I
must have
watched
been.
it
Yeah,
at
I
my
also-
grandma's house. Yeah.
But yeah, I also don't remember like aside from G4 how I was able to like get
Right.
access to all this stuff.
Well, that was
Outside
I
of like,
probably
you know,
watched it on
still
G4.
images and Nintendo Power.
I feel like I had to have ended up watching it on G4 because that's where I pretty much if I didn't get on Nintendo Power or like IGN or whatever, like it was on G4 and really shout outs to G4 because that was some of the coolest stuff back then. I know that just recently
We did not
Yeah,
have
which is
G4.
also dead unfortunately.
which just died for a second time. Yeah, recently.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But I think like that was a completely different kind of G4. It was cool like to have this kind of insider coverage of like what was going on the show floor like on TV. It was awesome. I miss that G4.
I'm so jealous that you guys had We had no channel like that at all. we had a show on YTV, which was like the youth television network.
I know what YTV is. Yeah.
Yeah, video and arcade top 10, and they played like Super Nintendo games I think until like the year 2003 or something like that on that show. So He wasn't exactly G4, but all right, let's move on. Let's talk about. I was trying to set the table earlier. I'm glad that we revisited that. I completely forgot. But so a couple years ago, more than a couple years ago now, but there was a lot of mystery, a lot of hype regarding the NX, the Nintendo's new console. And actually the parallels between the Revolution and NX are like really similar, because like you have Nintendo kind of coming off I don't want to call the GameCube like a bust, but it wasn't a success. It wasn't a major success. And the Wii U was certainly a bust. So you have them coming in a position of weakness, and they're trying to get people hyped for a new console. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue around what this new console could do. The new console, for both cases, is eventually revealed as this. I think it's fair to say like both of them were like really revolutionary ideas in terms of gaming consoles, and both headlined by this ginormous Zelda game. And E3 2005 is where we got to look at the Revolution, and we didn't get the name, but we got to see what it finally was. And we also got a Metroid Prime 3 announcement. That trailer is pretty small. It's only a minute long.
Don't hand wave that. That trailer is awesome. I love that trailer.
Oh, okay.
It's one of my favorite trailers of all of E3, because I only remember it in its like pixely bad resolution form in my head, and then just like that very short Samus showing up. But I don't know, there was I remember watching it on the second floor of my grandma's house and being really pumped for that. And that was right around when the Revolution was revealed, and that big 3 show up, and it's like the I think it was on Phase.
They show Phase. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
they show Phase. Like it was awesome. And it was,
we get to see the new gunship, which is still my favorite in the series to this day.
I think what made it look really cool. I was like, ooh, like this is like next level Metroid Prime. Just to go back to the Revolution though, because we do see it, but we don't really get to see it entirely. I don't think they showed off what the Wii remote was. I don't think.
They didn't show off the Wii remote until Tokyo Game Show later that year.
Yeah, like you only saw the console itself, and I think it was really interesting how one of the first things they point out, it's like it's a regular size optical disc. It's not a small weird disc for like the GameCube. But I'll never forget like that the font, like how it, like the Nintendo Revolution font was completely different from like their usual stuff. The Revolution had like discs as the O's, and then the console itself was like black with like the blue LED light going up the middle, and it had this cool sleek look to it. It felt very not Nintendo, and Nintendo was going through that like silver logo thing without like instead of the red. It felt like new and modern, which was weird for Nintendo because they're still to this day not known for being like that. So, but yeah,
the way it was revealed, the way it was revealed too was really cool because it was revealed in the exact same way as the DS, where Reggie, he just pulled out the DS from like his coat, and then Iwata did the same thing with the actual console itself to show just how tiny it was at the time, which was
yeah. And they showed like the GameCube ports in there, like it had the back. They make a big deal of the backward compatibility, which like they kind of were ready. Like it felt like a revolution in that way, and it also gave birth to like so many cool like leaks and fake things. Like I remember like Super Mario 128,
yes,
and like Nintendo. You remember Nintendo On, I think, which was like a VR headset or something. I love watching those videos and just like, oh my god, this is gonna be I'm like 12 years old watching like fake Nintendo Revolution leaks, like, oh my god, this is gonna be insane. And obviously none of it was real, but like, yeah, the Revolution, like it had this look to it, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna play like all your old Nintendo games on it in this sleek console, and you can plug your GameCube controllers into it.
Because they also revealed virtual console there as well and detailed that service. So it really was like it was the Nintendo
it felt
box.
Like it felt like a completely new thing where like you had all your games in one package. It had, you didn't have to forget about your old stuff. You didn't have to buy new the controllers. Like you didn't have to worry about getting weird discs. You could just put them right in, but you could fit the weird GameCube disc if you wanted. Like it was, and you had Iwata up there just like super chill and be like, yeah, we know this is going to be the sickest thing of all time. Like you're going to buy it. And he was right.
You want a revolution? We got one.
We got one.
I miss Iwata. This is a wicked direct, honestly, for Nintendo. There was a lot of like really quality games showing off between like the DS and the Revolution. Which a few favorites of mine. We got Phoenix Wright in there. We've got Mario Strikers was shown, but actually, probably the sickest thing is there's another really awesome Twilight Princess trailer. Not as iconic as the first one, but still like a wicked trailer. It's got like some Phantom of the Opera vibes to it. Very cool. So yeah, this was a great year for Nintendo, and the Revolution delivered. That's I guess the other parallel between them is like the Switch and the Wii. They delivered in terms of business. You can't dispute that.
Which doesn't make if you look at it that way, that means we're primed for a dud. The next console is gonna suck. is what history tells us.
I like to think of it more. I like to think of it more. Hold up. I like to think of it more as like the 3DS after the DS, where it wasn't as successful, but it was still a success. I hope so. That is how I am choosing to. That's where I'm putting my energy into this one.
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also got to give a shout out if we're going off Nintendo's E3 2005, Mario Kart DS, which for the longest time was my all-time favorite Mario Kart game.
Mario Kart DS.
Yes, so many new features introduced into this series. Obviously the big one being online play, which completely changed the series. I can't imagine Nintendo being like this forward thinking with online nowadays, but back then this was like such a non-Nintendo futuristic move of them.
Yeah, it was still so behind for it was like, wow, finally, like I've been playing online on my PlayStation and Xbox for years, and Nintendo's finally coming out with online. So like that
on a handheld though too.
Yeah,
it wasn't like not on a
yeah.
but on a handheld. That's what was really cool about it.
Yeah, it was.
And there was also other things like I love the drifting mechanics in that game. I'm a snaking scum, if you will, as some people will say. The mission mode in that game is like so top tier. I wish I wish that would come back, but up until the booster course pass in Mario Kart 8, I would probably rank this as my all-time favorite. But yeah, so many good memories with this one.
That whole initial era of Nintendo Wi-Fi with Mario Kart DS and Animal Crossing Wild World and Metroid Prime Hunters, like that whole era was just a lot of fond memories for me, because like I remember on like Christmas getting Mario Kart DS and there weren't lobbies, and you'd have to like try and search for a game at the same time to try and get into a race with your friends, and good times. I remember like poring over those Nintendo powers, after those games were revealed, and just the magazines
or even just the way multiplayer multiplayer worked in those games, local multiplayer, where only one person needed a car, and like you wouldn't get the full experience, so it would be more limited. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. But yeah, just so many features of that were just so cool.
2006.
Let's keep it moving. Yeah, 2006. This is an okay year, I thought. There's a Metroid Prime 3 trailer, but I think the trailer kind of stinks, actually. I don't know. I'm assuming you guys might not agree, but 2006 is the year that we got Brawl, which was cool. But I don't know.
We're just glossing over that.
I don't know.
We got Brawl.
Here's the thing about Brawl. I have very, very fond memories of the lead up to Brawl. Like maybe my most hype for a game ever. But it wasn't from E3 necessarily. It was more so from like checking on that Smash website every day.
Yes, every night.
Every night.
I'd stay up till like 3 a.m. waiting for an update. And they'd be like, Bowser's in the game. Like, I know that. I know Bowser's.
And sometimes it was like this sick like I remember I was like, oh, Lamar's in the game? Like, what? They just casually dropped that Sonic is in this game? Yeah. Or like, actually, I remember...
They didn't casually drop Sonic. No, they didn't casually drop Sonic on the website. That was from... I believe that was Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah,
it was a Japanese game trade show, and they showed the trailer there. And it was in December, I want to say, because I remember watching that in the living room on my...
You're correct.
Family PC. So I vividly remember that.
But they did drop some like new.
No, they definitely dropped some big stuff on the website,
which seems like crazy, because now you'd have like a really slick video, like Aldemar's joined the fray or whatever, and like
you have a whole cutscene. It would be a whole mini movie montage and whatnot.
One thing that I do remember actually is I think this might have actually been already on the website when it launched, but like there was that amazing remix of the Ridley theme. And I was like, this is so
Played
awesome.
That over and over again on
the
site player. I spent so much time on the Smash Dojo.
Yeah.
That was but that trailer was dope, because I definitely that's one of the first thing I remember like talking a ton about on like the Insider forums and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure I did a lot of stuff before that, but like I spent a lot of time especially talking about that. But that Brawl trailer was dope, not just for Snake, but also you got Wario, who like at the time, everyone's like, Wario should have been in Melee. You got Zero Suit Samus.
Zero Suit Samus
So
is
that
cool.
was a weird but really cool, because at the time like clones like weren't like they were a thing, but no one really cared because there's only been 2 games, and like so like it was like, oh, another Metroid character and it's Zero Suit Samus. It was weird, but like, oh, I guess that makes sense because Zero Mission had just come out and all that. And it was the big trailer. You had Pit, which was dope, and then Meta Knight, which was Pit was cool because Pit was like, oh wow,
You know
it's
what?
like
Pit's cooler than Meta Knight.
no, Meta Knight was dope because Meta Knight shows up like, and you get the Meta Knight thing, and he's like, boosh, boosh, and I was like, wow, this character's gonna be
The
broken.
coolest thing about this
He
trailer is
was.
actually
You
when
were
they-
right. You were
He
right.
was. I was like,
Dude.
this guy can jump a lot. That's weird.
When that Nintendo comes up, that's when I was just like, yes,
Yeah, the Nintendo
that's
on
awesome.
Halberd, and then like Kirby stuffing everyone, and like that trailer. I've seen that trailer so many times, and like the fart at the end, and then Snake shows up. Yeah, that's one of the most godlike trailers of all time, because that was the
That
first
now
time where,
like that now iconic main theme of Brawl that like
yes.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the Snake reveal is like, oh, like now there could be guest characters in Smash. Yeah, really, really.
The
cool.
Snake reveal for me was obviously like,
But
the
I think
big
Zero
thing.
Suit Samus being in the game, I thought was really dope at the time, because like I was a kid, I was like, oh, more Metroid, really cool. The Prime 3 trailer, I think you're sleeping on it, because if you remember, that trailer has the guy playing the Wii, jumping around his room and like doing flips over the couch, and I always remember those weird Wii commercials like that where they're like making it seem you're like in the most intense thing ever, like jumping around your room.
Right.
And this was
they're
one of
literally
those
taking
trailers.
cover behind the couch
Yeah,
and then
he's
like diving
he's
out like he's in Max Payne or something
yeah,
like
I
that.
was like, whoa! Like I know it's not. Even as a kid, I was like, this is ridiculous. But I was also like, whoa, this guy's having a good time.
I don't know. I wasn't in
Come
love with it.
on,
And then,
man,
you,
that
and then
was
you've got like the
funny.
little eye from the Wii, and it's like bobbing and flipping and dodging too. And I was just kind of like, it gave me the similar vibes to when I saw. Maybe I was just scarred by that Metroid Prime 2 commercial where it was just
like the
we need to go to
Pixar eye.
rehab or something like that for you because you played too much Metroid Prime 2. So I don't know. I didn't like this trailer, but I'll back up. I was sleeping a little bit on the Smash trailer. That was a sick trailer, but like I said, most of my love for Brawl came from the website.
This whole week commercial, I'm just like skipping through it right now, where it's going through all the games and like the people playing them. I'm like, wow.
I don't know.
Ugh.
It's not my favorite.
Simpler times, Andy.
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
Look at this guy shooting
one thing-
sideways with his Wii remote in Red Steel. Like, come on, he's living life.
I'll tell you this. I see Reggie up on stage. I think Iwata shows up a little bit later. Like those are the good times. Those are the good old days. So I'll give you that.
One thing I do want to point out, we've been talking a lot about the Brawl trailer, but that is actually not in the press conference, and what is probably one of the weirdest decisions ever. This was revealed in a private developer showing later, and then it was publicly announced after the private showing with the trailer. But it was I believe it was on a Thursday later on in the week, like after on like the last day of the show.
Yeah, I don't think it was during a press conference.
Huh.
Yeah, it was a few days after, yeah, which was
It was
really
one of the
weird.
last things. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
really weird, but like insanely hyped because no one expected it at all. Like at this time, like everyone was calming down and like settling down, and then out of nowhere, it's like new Smash Brothers,
Yeah,
we're back, baby.
That was one of the cool things, because in E3 land, like in a week of E3 action, by like most of the stuff's been announced by Wednesday. Like by Thursday, like maybe by Wednesday, like you've pretty much gotten everything. So to get like a big news drop at the pretty much essentially the end of the real E3 week was kind of unheard
pretty
of.
cool.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well let's keep going here with Metroid Prime 3. We're gonna go to 2007. We got Bill Trinan coming out, and he's introducing. Sorry, I missed her name, but someone is playing Metroid Prime 3 and just giving us a little bit of gameplay footage here. It looks like she's going through Brio.
Jackie Goner. Who is
Yeah, shout out to Jackie.
Goner.
And we got ourselves a hyper mode here. We got ourselves going into hyper mode. So I don't know, pretty neat. Not didn't like blow me away, but to be frank, none of the marketing for Metroid Prime 3 blew me away. I think I was like around 20 when Metroid Prime 3 was coming out, and even then I was just kind of like, I feel like Nintendo's dropping the ball a little bit on promoting this game, and they did. So this was like in line with what I thought.
Yeah, I think the big problem with Prime 3 is that like every game kind of back then got the same presentation of like
Yeah, someone playing
the
on the
Wii,
Wii.
like someone playing it casually, like this is cool and hip, like it's cool for your friends and family. So like even when you watch this press conference, it's like a girl, like a lady just standing on stage playing the game in kind of like a bland backdrop with Bill Trinan in office clothes and like the bland kind of like beige background. It doesn't really like jump. It feels very much like I don't know. It's kind of like you're showing inventory and not like you're trying to promote like
Yeah.
you're like, this is a game we have, and not like you got to check this out. It's just like it's just a person playing the game, and then
It feels
all
like
right,
it
this
could
is
have
what it
been
was.
any game in that spot.
Yeah, you
not
could've
like
just put
Metroid Prime 3.
Exactly. You could have put any game that in there,
Yeah.
and it didn't feel very special, which they didn't treat it like it was special. So
I think another problem is that I feel like Metroid games inherently, for the most part, just don't really lend themselves well to just like specific gameplay segment demos. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like trailers like make more sense to like demonstrate a Metroid game, unless you're playing the game for yourself. If you're watching someone play a specific section of a game, then like, yeah, it doesn't really look that interesting. And this gameplay demo does not look that interesting. And obviously the big hook is, as I put in the title, this is the first time that, the public has seen hyper mode, and they're trying to demonstrate like, oh, like this new firepower is unlike anything Samus has had before. But yeah, it just doesn't quite hit in this setting. But I feel like it would hit much more better in an actual tested demo section or as
Much
part
more
of a
better.
cinematic trailer. Yeah, much more better. I got good words.
I feel like I kind of disagree. Like, I think you could show like gameplay for Metroid and have it look really exciting, but just not this gameplay. Like maybe like a sizzle reel or like show a cool boss fight or something like that. But like when
Well,
you're
that's
just
what I
literally
mean. Like in the context, that's what I mean. Like in the context of a trailer, like obviously, like you could
Yeah.
like script it in a way, but like when you're just showing a raw gameplay segment without any cuts or without any editing, just watching someone else play, it doesn't give off that same feeling as playing it yourself.
No, I mean, I'm not really one for Twitch or anything like that. Like, so I would kind of almost say the same thing about like any game, to be honest with you. But that's just me. Let's move on. We're gonna skip the year 2008.
Wait, before we do that, I just want to say awesome Halo 3 reveal at E3 2007, which is my favorite E3 reveal, and also Microsoft had the really cool outdoor press conference stage this year, which I
That's
always remember because it
right.
looked really awesome.
I
against
forgot
like,
about that.
the setting sun against it. This I 100% remember watching on G4 on that Sunday. It was awesome, and it had that Halo trailer of the Ark coming out of the Earth and Master Chief showing up, and that's my
Oh,
favorite all time.
I remember the controversy that happened after that trailer. I don't know if you remember, Dak, specifically regarding G4. So this is back when they used to do commercial breaks during the E3 press conferences, and they unintentionally had one of the commercial breaks appear at the end of the Halo 3 trailer,
Oh
and
no!
people were so mad, and people were
remember
PO'd. Let's just say that. Oh yeah, there was a ton of backlash online, in that single moment. They completely took out ads during the press conferences. They only had them for the actual press coverage. After that, it was I vividly remember that.
I don't remember that, so I must have either been annoyed or not bothered and saw the whole thing. But I just remember the awesome stage and the trailer. So yeah, let's move on.
All right. So we're skipping.
Also, sorry. Oh my God. Also, wasn't 2007? Wasn't 2007? My Body Is Ready from Reggie on the
That's
Wii?
2008. That's
I
2008.
thought that was
2008?
late. Yeah. Well, that's about the
okay.
Yeah,
only
that was-
good thing about 2008, because I seem to remember 2008 is
false.
Oh, okay,
my
let me
good sir.
let me
There's
back
some
up.
good stuff in 2008.
Let me back that trade up. The only
Yeah,
good thing
back
from
that up.
Nintendo, because I could be wrong.
Still disagree.
But what happened in 2008? I
Wii
seem to remember
Music.
it being a stinker.
Wii
Yeah,
Music.
Wii
man.
Music. That
Wii Music is like all-time classic.
Ravi Gems, baby.
I don't
Would you
know if
remember,
there
would you
are.
remember E3 2008 if not for Wii Music? No, you wouldn't.
Well,
So,
you're
just
not
think about
wrong. I don't know if there's many champions for Wii Music in E3 2008 out there. But if you are, I mean, hey,
I will put my life on the line for the Wii Music reveal. Into
was
that.
there
Come
was
on.
there
You wanna
another
get-
game
you
you
wanna
could
get
think
to-
of that year that was announced?
Yes, I can. It's not a Nintendo game though. But Banjo and Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. I remember that was revealed in 2008,
Okay.
and at the time, I didn't know. I mean, when it first got revealed, I remembered fondly Banjo Kazooie, and at the time, just like the idea of like an old IP coming back and being modernized like that was like
Mhm.
still new to me and was really novel and whatnot. And it had been, I think, at that time, probably 8 or 9 years since the last one, or whatever it was, 7 or 8 years.
And this
so,
is 6 years from Microsoft's purchase of Rare, by the way.
which as a kid, that was a long time. So now, not that long, but at the time, that was half my life. So I was like,
Wow,
"Whoa,
I
this
think that's
is
a long time.
yeah." I was like, "That's amazing." And honestly, not gonna lie, I still enjoy Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. It's not a Banjo Kazooie game, but it's a fun game. And I remember watching the E3 G4 coverage and them being like, I don't know what's going on with this Lego game going on here, but I'm watching Banjo fly this weirdly constructed plane inside of a dome and whatever, and talking to a dude with a TV for a head. I was like, I'm sold. And I remember getting it from GameStop because if you pre-ordered it, you got the original Banjo Kazooie 1 and 2 for the for Xbox, the marketplace or whatever the
Right.
digital service was.
Xbox Arcade, I think it was.
Yeah, Xbox Live Arcade. Yes, exactly. So that was so fond memories for me for Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts in 2008.
Yeah, great Tears of the Kingdom demo.
I was gonna say that game walked so Tears of the Kingdom could fly. So let's keep it going. 2009. One more thing at this press conference. This is also, if I may, I consider it kind of a down press conference, but one Metroid headlines the show. One more thing. We have got the first look at the most infamous game in the series, Metroid Other M. But I mean, like, if you're a fan just looking at this game, like, this looks pretty cool. Like, it looks like it's got awesome cutscenes. It's got
you had Team Ninja logo right at
Yeah.
the beginning. You had the cinematics looked awesome. It looked like a movie. I was pumped for this.
This looks
any
sweet.
Metroid. I'm sorry, but if any Metroid fan tells you they weren't excited for this game after watching the trailer time, they're lying. We all know how the game turned out, but at the time, the trailer looked like it was going to be the sickest game of all time, as far as I'm concerned. Except for like one or two moments, it looked like it was going to be amazing. It looked like it was going to be so much fun.
Yep, I completely agree.
And to this day, like you said, Andy, this is the only time that Metroid has gotten the grand finale at the end of a presentation. It's the only one more thing.
Well, we'll get there. You're not wrong, technically speaking, but yeah, I'm kind of taking a look at the rest of this direct. We got like some new Super Mario Bros. We've got like your usual schlock of Wii Sports and stuff like that. So I mean, like, it did kind of look like somewhat of a quiet year for Nintendo, but I do still think that it's like a pretty cool accomplishment that like Metroid headlined E3. Like, I think that that's really sweet.
I think I get what you're referencing now, and I think I might be inclined to agree, actually. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. So let's go to 2010. We get another trailer for Metroid Other M, and I don't know, cool trailer.
Not on Metroid, but that is the year of the Konami conference with the 1 million troops meme.
Oh my god, yes.
When that came out. So I'm thinking of some of these memes, which I just forgot. By the way, for 2006, I also forgot about the giant enemy crab.
I love giant
enemy crab. Which also was part of, which was Sony. I'm like thinking of these. I'm like, are people gonna get what we're
it's
talking
Ridge
about?
Racer.
I don't
know
that.
Racer.
Oh,
there have to be some listeners that I'm like, do you know what giant enemy crab is from Sony's E3 2006 conference? Do you know about 1 million troops from Konami?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know about 1 million troops.
You don't know about 1 million troops?
Maybe
you gotta watch. Andy, you gotta watch the 99 Nights 2 segment.
Troops.
Okay. I'll watch it as soon as we're done.
Troops.
Wow. 1 million troops.
I do remember. I cackle every time I hear like Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer. Just
it essentially
God,
has
it's
the
good.
same
kind of vibes.
Essentially, it's the same thing. But yeah,
if we're gonna talk about like great Sony moments, I feel like for a brief moment we got to travel back in time to the very first E3, which arguably might have had one of the biggest mic drops of all time. Where right after the I believe the Saturn was announced, and Sega revealed that it was going to be like $400. And then they had one
name?
other. I can't remember, and I should know because I literally was like looking over the footage earlier today. They literally just had one guy come up on stage and just goes into the mic, $299. And walks off,
which is amazing because that guy used to be like a big exec at Sega. So
wow, like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna plug a book for everybody to read. It's called Console Wars. It's by Blake J. Harris. It's awesome, and you get a lot of that backstory. And yeah, what a moment! Like $299, it just leaves.
Steve Race.
Steve Race. Yes.
Steve Race. Yeah, he comes on. Yeah, the Sega Saturn announced at $399. He shows up at the podium $299. This was the first E3.
So good.
The first E3, and really set the stage. I feel like for like the big like bombshells are gonna be dropping at E3. You can't miss it, and yeah, that's like one of the most just like Chad moves I feel like in gaming. And that was the best move because I mean I feel like if I remember correctly, the PlayStation outsold the Saturn. So
The Saturn was
Well, it was the best.
bomb.
It was the best-selling console that generation. It outsold the N64.
Yeah.
yeah, I was being facetious. It was
You should check, anybody listening to this that wants a little bit more like backstory for this. You got to read this console workbook. It's awesome, and it details exactly how Sega was so awful in the mid '90s and why they're no longer making consoles.
Is it on Audible by any chance? Because I have one more credit that I haven't used there yet. So
that I don't know, but probably. I mean, it's been out for a long time. There's also a documentary of it as well, and we covered it on Virtual Theater, but now I can't remember where it was. But anyways, let's move on. So I really quickly. So there's nothing Metroid in the year 2011, but one of my favorite, like, or is it 2010? I think it's 2010 actually, where they have the absolute debacle with Skyward Sword at E3, and like Bill Treden and Shigeru Miyamoto are up there. They look like they just want to hit the nearest bar and get wasted immediately because nothing is working. What a mess. What a mess that was. A great E3 moment. I loved it, but what a mess. All right, let's go to 2000.
The moment. I was just gonna say the moment where Bill is translating for Miyamoto when he said, "It seems like we're getting some wireless interference from some of the press in the audit." Oh, it just you can feel that. You can just feel the pain in his voice when he says that.
It's so awful if you watch it now. It's like watching Scott's Tots. If for any Office fans out there, so it's brutal. 2012, we got Nintendo Land being shown off. This is pretty lame. This is the start of a...
The 2010s in comparison for Metroid and Nintendo in general, just ass, man.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say.
Not good.
Here's what I will say. Nintendo Land is an actual game. Very cool. I love it. It's so much fun to this day to like bust out and play with friends, I think. But as a presentation, and especially as the one more thing, wow, this was... It kind of set the tone for the Wii U, unfortunately, and it was not pretty.
I was telling Doom earlier before the show. I think when they showed that off, and I was like, I think I'm too old for this. You know, like I was like, this isn't for me. Like I think I need new things because I watched Nintendo Land. I was like, there's no, you know, by then Other M had come out, right? So we're what, like a year and a half into like just full on Metroid depression, like just the darkest of times. And then you get like Nintendo Land come out, and it's like, man, I need something. I need to get a PC or something.
We weren't in the dark times yet. We weren't in the dark times yet. As we will find out, it could easily get worse.
It got darker, but it was that was. I mean, the moments right after Other M, I don't think were great. And then we didn't get a substantial Metroid reveal until 5 years later.
Not really. Let's move on and go to 2013. Of course,
I got nothing for that.
Yeah, I mean this is where Smash 4 is revealed, but I mean there's really nothing going on in the way of Metroid for Smash 4. You've got same characters, a couple new stages, but I don't know that anyone would say that they're like amazing stages. You've got Villager shown off, which is like the big thing here, but yeah,
the Smash Ultimate rollout for characters was not as super exciting for me because it was like Villager, Mega Man.
You mean like Smash 4, not Ultimate?
Oh, I thought I said 4. Smash.
Yeah,
4.
You said Ultimate.
My bad.
Just to be clear,
Smash 4 because it was like Villager, Mega Man, like Rosalina.
Yeah,
Mega Man was pretty hype, I think, but otherwise,
I think like once the game was out and then they were like introducing the DLC, that's when they kind of found the formula.
The DLC. I mean,
like
Cloud, Ryu,
Cloud was an unbelievable moment. Like
I was on the train coming back from work and I lost service on the subway and I get service back and Cloud's in Smash. I'm like,
I'll never forget watching that because I was upstairs. I was like, I was at work and I was like, oh, this kind of sounds like the Final Fantasy VII theme. I was like, this kind of really sounds like it. There's no way there's anybody from Final Fantasy. Oh my god, it's like I never at that point when Cloud Strife was revealed for Smash Bros. That is when I was like, okay, legitimately anybody you can think of is a possibility for Smash. Like Master Chief, like anybody.
100%.
That I was like, wow.
I agree.
But that obviously doesn't happen at E3 here. So
Yeah, to go back to 2014 though, my only fond memories that I remember really are the Iwata versus Reggie like
that was
punching.
cool.
That was
good.
that was the following year. That was the
Was
following
that?
year in 2014.
Okay,
Because
what
that's
was-
when they revealed Mii fighters as well as the amiibos. It's the first time we ever saw
You
amiibos.
sure that wasn't 2014?
I know for a fact that was
Well, it
2014.
wasn't 2014,
Yeah.
but wasn't the robot chicken stuff from 2014? Didn't they
Yes.
do? Yeah, okay. So maybe I'm mixing those
I
two
know
up.
that the puppets were from 2015 because that rocked.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, there's nothing for 2014. So why don't we just jump to 2015?
Can I talk about some 2013 stuff real quick? Some non-Metroid stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So usually the EA press conferences are really awful, not fun to watch. But 2013 had a couple of insanely good reveals. Unfortunately, the actual games didn't land, but at the time I was insanely hyped for the reboot of Star Wars Battlefront, which was one of my favorite series. And at that time, we'd already knew about Battlefront 3 being canceled, and it was just like, oh my gosh, the series is dead. We're never seeing it again. And then when that logo popped up, I just absolutely lost my mind. Fortunately, the final game didn't quite live up to that, and we're kind of back to square one all over again today. And then there was Mirror's Edge Catalyst 2 as well. Or sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask you, see if you remember what year was Anthem revealed? Because I also remember being super hyped for that, and then ended up kind of stinking.
I think it was later. Can't even remember. That must have been that was somewhere in like the mid 2010s. I want to say like 2015, 2016 maybe sometime afterwards, but I can't quite remember. But yeah, Mirror's Edge Catalyst. At this time, I'd already played the first Mirror's Edge, which is in my top 5 games of all time. So when they announced the sequel to that game, I was just losing my mind. But again, Catalyst still a good game, but definitely doesn't come anywhere near close that original game in my opinion.
2013,
and unfortunately, again, that series is kind of on thin ice as well, which it is what it is. But at the time, it was insanely hype inducing.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's go right to 2015. Oof. This was not the Metroid Prime game that Metroid fans were looking for, needless to say. We've got our first trailer for Metroid Prime Federation Force. And you almost got to feel a little bit bad for this game, don't you? Because it never had a chance. I feel more bad for next level games and like the staff that worked on the game. Yeah, that's
what I mean.
itself. Like,
yeah. There's actually like a whole lore episode that goes into this. So I believe this was like when Nintendo re-debuted like the Nintendo World Championships, which was awesome. I hope that they do that again in the future because that was so much fun. I remember they had Kevin Pereira from the G4 days like hosting it, and like it was so cool like seeing him do all this like live commentary.
My boy John Numbers was the Nintendo World Champion. Shouts to John Numbers.
But yeah, but at the World Championships, they revealed a new game at the time that kind of looked like just a random downloadable title called Blast Ball. Nothing else, just Blast Ball, and people are already oddly suspicious of it. It's like, why do these guys have arm cannons? Why do these guys have charge shots? Why do they have a very similar like energy meter with like 99? Whatever, I'm sure it's a coincidence. Obviously, nobody in their right mind would set this in the Metroid universe. And then the direct was the next day, and yeah.
I will say this about Blast Ball: it's got a cool logo, but man, I'm watching this trailer and 5 years after Other M, which just let's not revisit that, but we all know what the reaction was. This is the game that they decide to go with. It's just like it seemed asinine then, and it really doesn't seem any less asinine now. Like it never had a chance. It didn't help that the game wasn't that great. Like it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't that great. This is a pretty low point for Metroid. Pretty low point for Nintendo, actually.
Yeah. Blast Ball was on the right track because Rocket League would come eventually. So I'm like, maybe potentially a good idea, but
yeah,
this was wild. Because I remember
was this before Rocket League. I could have swore Rocket League was already out by now.
I thought Rocket League was 2016.
I'll
it
trust
first
you over
came
me.
out.
I'm not sure.
I'm so Rocket League came out on July 7th of 2015, but I didn't know about it until after I knew about Blast Ball.
Right.
Because Blast Ball got revealed pretty much around the same time at E3, and then Rocket League came out in 2015 in July. But I didn't know about it till after that. But yeah, either way, this was dumbfounding because when Other M came out, I was not yet in college, and then when Federation Force got announced, I had graduated college, and that was and through my whole college career, that was what I waited for. And that was another breaking point. I was like, wow, what do I like? Why do I even care? Why do I even bother? Why do I even bother, man? Like, I need a new favorite series. At that point, Halo had been done dirty, Metroid had been done dirty. Like, what else? What else is there left for me? I started playing Overwatch like a year later because I was so down bad. So like, yeah, this was not great. Not definitely tone deaf.
It was
Definitely
tough.
tone deaf.
Yeah.
To me, it kind of felt like. Here's what I always thought. I always thought that like it was tone deaf, but what really happened was there was not going to be any Metroid at all, and just to appease Metroid fans, they just slapped
I agree.
the Metroid moniker on this just to say, "Hey, we're making Metroid games. Here's a Metroid game." Because I remember there was talk being like, "Oh, like they put this out there to like gauge interest in a new Metroid game." No, they didn't. This was a game that
Yeah.
like was never going to sell. They were like, "What can we put on this to like make it sell?" We haven't used Metroid in 5 years. Let's make it a Metroid game and tweak it a little bit.
Mhm.
Because I don't think they were ever like, we're gonna do a little dip our toes in and we're gonna see how it sells, blah blah. Like it was always some shovelware that was being made, and Nintendo was like, this isn't gonna sell. If we want to even barely sell 10 copies, we need to put a recognizable name on it. And so they put Metroid on it, not knowing probably that real Metroid fans, or not real, but Metroid fans who are expecting an actual Metroid game would be pissed and not
obligated to at least try it
caring.
out.
Or obligated to try it out, but most likely mad if they when they did, but not caring because they need to sell this game. So yeah, not good.
2015 in general was just like a really, really bad year to be a Nintendo fan, I feel like. Because outside of like Splatoon and Mario Maker, which are generally like really good games on the Wii U, like it was just depressing as hell. They teased Star Fox at the end of 2014, which was hype, and then we saw it in action in 2015, and it's like, oh, this looks very, very mid at best.
The biggest thing about 2015
Federation Force
was Breath of the Wild disappearing.
That's not what I was gonna lead into, but you had Amiibo Festival, you had Scott the Waz's all-time favorite game, Chibi Robo Ziplash. And then as if things weren't bad enough, a few months after that E3, Satoru Iwata unfortunately passed away to really finish it off. And just, 2015, not a great year to be a Nintendo fan.
No, and Nintendo was doing really poorly. I remember Iwata slashed his own salary before he passed away, and for me, like even I wasn't at part of Zelda Dungeon in 2015, but like even for me before then, like it seemed like when Breath of the Wild got delayed in 2015, that felt like that was like the death knell for the Wii U. At that point, it was very clear that they were just like cutting their losses with the Wii U, and it was tough because it was like you had nothing to look forward to until at whatever point the NX became something more than just a code name. And like I remember just being like, that was a dark time to be a Nintendo fan, a Metroid fan, whatever, like anything fan from Nintendo. The only thing like even a shining bright spot was that Smash DLC that was going it's still strong at the time, but that was a tough year.
It was not good because I remember I was writing for a site, Nintendo Enthusiast, which I think eventually was part of like Enthusiast Gaming or whatever, from like 2013 to 2015. I think eventually I stopped in 2015 because I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. this is too much. I'm not I'm not having fun anymore, guys. So yeah, not an ideal time to be a Nintendo fan in 2015. And also, by the way, Chibi Robo I think is one of the most squandered potential franchises Nintendo has. I think that they could be doing so much cool stuff with Chibi Robo. I think Chibi Robo is really cool, and I was disappointed because the game you mentioned, that was like a side scroller, right? Like it was lame, not cool.
Oh my gosh, I forgot I forgot about Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. Oh my god.
That was their big like November game that year too, and it
I didn't remember
stunk.
that.
Yep.
I will say, because I want to give a silver lining here, because we're about to turn the corner. This E3 was one of the worst, but like next year, at least I thought in 2016, there's no Metroid at that year, but like there's no any game except for Breath of the Wild, and somehow I still thought that was one of Nintendo's best ever E3s, just with like the set, the presentation, the quality of the game that you were finally seeing for the first time. I do think it was painful to get there. I'd never want to redo that. But like that was a pretty awesome E3 moment, like a finally kind of like a payoff or a reward for slumming it out for the last couple years beforehand. If you're not into Zelda, it probably didn't hit as much, obviously, but I was.
I thought it was exciting. I don't remember anything else.
But there wasn't anything else. There literally was one game that year.
I think they showed off like Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon as well for like Pokemon, but like. Yeah, that was because they didn't do a press conference, they didn't do a direct that year at all. They just had the treehouse on the E3 show floor.
Yeah. Okay, we're here. 2017, the rebirth, the Phoenix rises. Metroid is back, baby.
A new era.
A new era. So I think I told you guys before. I was writing a blog. I just started Zelda Dungeon like a couple months ago, but I wanted to write about Metroid. So I had my own little blog, and I was writing this article called The Metroid Conundrum about why Metroid just wasn't like a bigger series. And I wrote it, and then like 3 weeks later, Metroid Prime 4 is revealed. Samus Returns is revealed, which was the most awesome moments. But even I think that this was an amazing moment for Metroid, but I wouldn't stack it up there with like the greatest moments of E3 and Metroid, because they made the boneheaded decision to reveal Samus Returns after E3 was done during the Treehouse conference.
It was after the direct, after the conference, yeah. And literally the first thing they showed was
and it was
during
like,
the Treehouse, which is Samus Returns.
It's like the Switch is already out. Like you're setting it up to fail.
Second thing, sorry. It was pretty soon after though. Like it was almost immediate.
It wasn't part of the main direct, which is the problem.
No.
That's the point. And it's just like, what? What? Why?
They didn't want to take the shine away from Prime 4. They're like, this game's coming out in 3 years. We can't.
I would have played the Samus Returns trailer and then had the Prime 4 teaser after. Like that seems like easy money to me.
I
agree.
Well, I don't think it was less about taking the shine away from Prime 4. I think it was more so they wanted they more so exclusively wanted. I am just not good at reading humor today. Clearly, I'm being very. I'm like Drax in Guardians right now.
They weren't focusing on the 3DS stuff at that point. They were focusing on the big console stuff. Yeah, but I disagree. The Prime 4 reveal is up there. It's my second favorite Metroid moment, I think, because man, when have I ever been more excited about some space dust and a number? Never, man.
Yeah,
never.
You're right.
Never. It was something that like, because I don't think like I ever thought there will never be another Metroid Prime game, but it's just been so long. Like literally, it'd been 10 years since since Metroid Prime 3. Like we're not talking about Federation Force. It's been 10 years. So like, it just felt like it wasn't even the conversation, you know? So that to me was just like, finally, a sequel to like my second favorite trilogy of all time, one of my tied favorite trilogy of all time. Like, come on. Like, yeah. I popped off for this.
One thing I really liked and appreciated about that too was Reggie Fils-Aimé came on. I don't know if it was like after when they were talking to some media or whatever, but like very shortly after that, Reggie was like, the game is not close to being done. And we typically don't show games like this early in development. But we wanted to reassure Metroid fans that we're working on this game so that they're... And like, I really appreciated that. And I wish Nintendo did more of that. Like with Tears of the Kingdom, I was so frustrated that nobody said anything about that game. Whereas Metroid Prime 4, they're like, we're showing it early, don't expect it for a while. The game kind of sucks. We're restarting development. I'm sorry. Like, you know what? Like, I love that transparency. Yeah, exactly. So it was a great moment, but I wouldn't say it eclipses some of like the all-time for me great moments.
It's second for me.
Okay, well let's go over to the following year.
I haven't said anything yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Drax. Go ahead.
Thank you. yeah, this isn't quite at the top for me, but this is like definitely like a top 2 or top 3 moment for me. This is actually the first Nintendo Direct I actually took the day off work in advance for. Like I requested it off in advance because it was that
Yes.
important for me.
Yes.
And I was watching with my friend Claudia. I vividly remember this, and the Direct was okay, okay at this point, but no bombshells had been dropped quite yet. And then I remember the screen going black and the space going, and I remember just biting my knuckle, and I was just like, "Oh F, I want this to be Metroid, but I know it's not. I'm gonna keep calm."
Yeah.
And then that music came in, man, and
It was the
I
music
don't
for you?
yeah, it was the music. Well, the music came first, and then the 4 comes later. But the second that music came, man,
Oh, okay. See,
oh my,
It was
that
the
wasn't the
4
cue
for
for me.
me.
It would no. It was the space dust is in the shape of the screw attack, the Samus symbol. You get.
I think
you
that I
see-
think that came
yeah,
up like
sorry, that's what it was.
That
I
that was my Metroid pattern recognition brain. Be like,
Yeah.
I know what that looks like, but the music. Might have
that
started
I
at the
think
same
that came
time.
I think that came in like
Yeah,
around the same time as the
yeah.
music. But
It was
but
before
yeah,
the 4
like
though.
this.
So
Yeah, the second that music cue came in, I was just like screeching like a hyena, just going
Yes.
absolutely insane. And then the 4 came in, and I was just like screeching, Metroid Prime 4! Metroid Prime 4! Just like
It was unbelievable. I
Uh.
was covering it for Zelda Dungeon, and like people, I've never got pinged as much in my life for anything as I have for that. I had like 30 people messaging me being like, Spiteri 316, check this out. And I was like, duh, I'm watching it right now. It was so awesome. And I can't remember what came first, the 4 or the screw attack logo, but whatever came first, I was just like, oh my god. It was so good. Let's go to 2018. This one, I actually thought that, relatively speaking, 2018 was kind of like it was an okay year.
what?
For E3, I thought it was just kind of okay. Like, you had Fire Emblem, which looked great. And then you had Smash Ultimate, which, I don't know. I like that.
Smash Ultimate. They
Yeah.
had Smash Ultimate.
I guess,
mean-
I guess for me, like,
What?
well let me try and explain myself a little bit
Sorry.
here.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
For me, I kind of wasn't like I was excited to like see some characters come back, but I also like, to me, I was just kind of like I feel like the characters that aren't in Smash anymore like probably don't need to be in Smash either. Like, I didn't miss Dr. Mario or Dark Pit or
You didn't miss Snake?
Pichu.
You're gonna miss Snake.
Well,
or
yeah,
Mewtwo,
Ice Climber, Snake, of course, but like
Wolf,
the
Pokemon
whole...
Trainer.
No, not really. But so my point is that I was kind of like, okay, this is cool, but I wasn't like, and I was excited, obviously, but I wasn't like, I had also just like, we just come off that Smash 4 hype train, so I wasn't as like, okay, like amazing, wicked. And then the ending where Ridley, of all people, main events E3 for Nintendo, and this dude kills Mario, he kills Kirby,
Kills
and
him.
he's fighting
kills Mega Man, not Kirby.
Oh, I wish
as
he
much as
killed
you want him
Kirby.
to.
So he murders these guys, then he's facing off with Samus, and it was like so cool because like for so long all you'd ever heard is this nonsense like Ridley's too big. What a great moment,
Yeah.
Dak! I know that you had
That's my favorite E3 moment of all time. My favorite
Yeah.
Metroid moment of all time. There's a Twitch clip of me watching this on Twitch with my roommate at the time and also my coworker at the time at the office, in his office, freaking out with like a horrible haircut. I don't know what I was doing. And like, I remember I was freaking out so bad. Like, my boss like came up, was like, "Are you guys all right in here? Like, it sounds like someone's getting like murdered or something." I was freaked out. I was a Ridley for Smash guy for years and years and years and years and years. Like, I feel like it was like my identity for a while. Like, if you knew me as like the Rapture or CCM30, like, you definitely knew me as a big Ridley fan. I wanted like, it was like one of those things where, like, when it finally happened, I was like, oh, now what? Like, my life's dream, getting Ridley into Smash. Yeah, I mean, Ridley getting into Smash was the ultimate, like, we're back. Like, this, like, I knew it was possible. It was different than Prime 4 because it was like, I never thought Prime 4 was impossible. But like Ridley,
Right.
I was told it was impossible my whole life. And then you finally see it happen, and it was so great to be right. And it was so, I still main Ridley to this day. Is he a perfect interpretation of Ridley from Metroid? Absolutely not. Actually, a very, very weird interpretation of Ridley that doesn't really make sense for his character. But he's super cool and fun to play, so like, I'm fine with it.
Mhm.
And you get to play as Meta Ridley, so that's dope. But yeah, this is an all-time. I don't think I've ever been more hype for a reveal. Even when I was hyped for like the Halo 3 reveals, the Metroid reveals, like I didn't have enough like tenure at the time. Now, like when I was older and I had so much suffering as a Ridley fan to finally get that, I don't know if I'll ever experience anything like that ever again. Like I don't know if I could in gaming. I don't know if I
You got to
could.
go through the pain to appreciate the victories.
I think the only thing that would be close would be if a sequel to like Donkey Kong 64 got announced. Like I'm being super serious. I can't think of anything else that like hasn't happened yet. In like they brought Metroid Prime back, they brought Ridley into Smash. Like I don't know what else I'm sure I'm missing. I'm forgetting something, but yeah, that's an all-time reveal for me as a Ridley fan, as a Metroid fan, as a gaming fan, as an E3 fan. Yeah, wow, the all-timer.
So I think, so Andy, you brought something up in 2016 that I think might apply here as well, where it's like, if you weren't much of a Zelda fan, Nintendo's presence at E3 2016 probably did absolutely nothing for you. And I think that's the same applies here, even though they had a direct, where like everything else was like, maybe if you're a Fire Emblem fan, your Three Houses looks all right. Super Mario Party looked like somewhat of a return to form, ended up not until the Superstars afterwards, but not really. It's certainly not going to be a game of the show by any means. You're watching the direct for Smash. That's what's happening. Literally half of the presentation is dedicated to Smash Brothers. Yeah. So I got another story as well. So Claudia from the 2017 direct, she's at the house, and I also have my friends Austin and Dario with me as well, because we're all big Smash fans. So we're all like really hyped for this presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And I do I have a shot glass bingo card that I printed out beforehand, with like character reveals, and I was like, you know what, just for fun, why don't we put every single character that has that's been cut from Smash? Why don't we just put them all on the bingo card? Why not?
Yeah.
It's not like any of them are coming back. Yeah, 6-7 shots later, Ridley got revealed, and I lost my mind while I was absolutely trashed, and it was absolutely wonderful. And you can actually go watch that reaction on my YouTube channel if you're so inclined.
If you want to see this man sloshed, you should check it. Was it really only 6 or 7? It feels like
I can't remember. I can't remember
over
off the top
10 characters that were cut and came back. Is it there? Well,
I can't remember.
After.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I was just very drunk. I just remember that.
All right, so no 2019. Although I do remember that was a solid year for Nintendo at E3.
Yes.
What do we?
Tears of the Kingdom reveal.
Tears of the. Of course, yeah. 2019 is actually one of the best years ever for.
Banjo came to Smash. I lost my mind during that.
Tears of the Kingdom. Link's Awakening was shown off. 2019 is actually like a wicked year for E3.
Yeah, 2019 was a good one.
But no Metroid, but that's fine. Obviously, in 2020, we didn't have E3, but that leads us to, I consider this the all-time greatest Metroid moment in E3. I think I'm ready to say that when Metroid Dread.
My number 2, then maybe, yeah, Metroid Dread.
Dude, I can't. I think it was more special too because. We were doing this podcast and like we had done, we'd done episodes about Metroid Dread, the game that never was, and like we were wondering, we'd done a bunch of episodes about like Metroid 5, and we built a little bit of our own Metroid community, and like to have that game come out and like spend the next couple weeks with you guys, just kind of being excited again and like being like, just feeling that energy in like our Metroid community was unbelievable. I mean, the game looked awesome, and it was awesome, and it was coming out in like 3 months, which was awesome, and like everything about it was so amazing.
It was called Dread. It was called Metroid 5. Like that kind of stuff was, again, just like Ridley. I'm like, wow, I never thought this would actually happen. Maybe this is my number 2 or my number 1, because it was one of those things where like you thought it was impossible, you thought it would never happen. It's just like folklore, and then boom.
My only regret is that, so I was covering this E3 for Zelda Dungeon because we were expecting Tears of the Kingdom, and we got Tears of the Kingdom, but by the time Tears of the Kingdom came around, I was like, whatever, I don't care. Like, I wish that we had streamed that on the Metroid side, because that would have been an all-time moment, and just like, what an unbelievable moment in time, and to just like share it with this community and with you guys was very special for me. So that's my number one Metroid moment.
Yeah.
I am not being hyperbolic when I say this. Not only is this my favorite Metroid moment, not only is this my all-time favorite E3 moment, I genuinely think this is one of the happiest moments of my entire life. And I'm being dead serious when I say that. Not to say that my life hasn't been great before then, but like, oh my gosh. I remember when I was in elementary school, not paying attention in class, daydreaming and making drawings about what Metroid Dread was going to look like. You know, after reading it in Game Informer back in June of 2005. And, you know, long since then abandoning any hope that this game was real. And then, first off, when Metroid 5 came out, I was already losing it at that point. I was like, oh my god, 20 years later, we're finally seeing where the story goes after this. Didn't exactly like where the story went, but who cares? That's not important right now. And then, oh my god, that title reveal, man.
Oh.
When Dread popped up on screen, that was my Half-Life 3. That was my Half-Life 3.
Yeah. I guess I'm not a Half-Life guy, but like that's been a game and rumored for forever. This is better. This was amazing. It was so awesome, and just like, I think that I would put this announcement, I know most wouldn't, but like for me, I would put this announcement right next to that Twilight Princess 2004. Maybe not above, but like right damn close to it, as like something that I just like, wow, I can't believe I just watched that in real time and that just happened. Like, wow, that was so, it was so awesome. I wish I could relive that moment. What a great time to be a Metroid fan that was, and you know, we haven't quite got a whole lot of follow up from that, although we did get Metroid Prime remastered, but it kind of like, you know, I know that we had Ridley main eventing E3, we had Samus Returns, we had the announcement of Metroid Prime 4, but that was almost like the moment to me where it's like, okay, Metroid is like officially back. It's not coming back in the future, it's back right now. And that was, it was just a great moment.
And it was kind of like one of Nintendo's like last big E3 moments, because as we kind of wrap this up, it's kind of like, it's weird to think about, like there won't be any more, and there haven't been for a little while, but there won't be any big E3 press conferences or funny memes or those big moments, and you'll get them during the Nintendo Directs, and you'll get them during the Game Awards and whatnot, or the Summer Games Fest and all that, but I don't know, I don't think it'll be the same. And with Dread, it was kind of just that last like hurrah. And it's kind of funny how Metroid had this, like, was at the beginning of like 20 years prior, like towards the beginning of E3, Nintendo, once a few years passed, like Metroid had a really awesome presence at E3 for years in the 2000s, and then that kind of fell to the wayside, and there wasn't anything big. And then towards the end of E3, who comes back but Metroid to have some of the most exciting announcements over the past 5 or so years of E3 to kind of round things out. It's cool to see that, and it's awesome that we did get like Metroid Prime 4's announcement and Metroid Dread's announcement, all that kind of stuff, while E3 was still around in some capacity, because, you know, we're able to look back on it and have those awesome memories to share. Though I'm sure we would have still shared them had they been announced at a regular Nintendo Direct sometime during the year elsewise, but whatever.
I do think, like, you got a point there though, like if I were to ask you, like, what's your favorite September Nintendo Direct memory of all time?
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same. It's just not the same. It's not the same. And you know, as we've just went through, man, E3 provided us with so many just amazing moments, and just you know, it's sad to see it go. Sad to see it go. So yeah. I don't know. Should we pour one out here? Just have a little toast to E3. I don't know if you guys got anything. I got a water here, so
I got a water bottle.
All right, well, let's raise our glasses here to E3 and salute our friend and wish him. Hope he gets to heaven before the devil finds out he's dead. There you go. All right. Well, this was a marathon episode, but I loved reminiscing about the history of E3 and the history of, you know, some of our. The history of E3 really is the history of us. Like, it's about the same age as a lot of us, and just seeing how it grew and evolved and ultimately you know, faded away is a really, it was a great trip down memory lane. I'm glad that we took this. This is great.
Yeah, I think everyone's doing it right now. I think it was good that we were able to jump in on this, but
Yeah.
gonna be sad to see it go. It sucks that, over time, I mean, I'm personally really glad I was able to attend E3 twice, and I did so before it was open to the public. It was like going to Six Flags for E3, like stand in these lines to play a new game and check all this stuff out. And there really won't be any, I'm sure there'll be stuff like it, but I don't know. It won't be quite like it. And E3 is like a name that like you knew had
Yeah.
important stuff to happen with gaming, and that we'll see. I mean, everything evolves and changes. This whole year for gaming has been, safe to say, not one of the brightest, and it's no
Tumultuous.
surprise
Yeah.
that E3 is going by the wayside and hitting the grave is kind of part of that year. But who knows? Maybe from the ashes of 2023, something more beautiful and as awesome as E3 rises and grows and brings people memories in the future like we've had with E3 in the past. So.
Yep, you said it perfectly. Doom, any final eulogy on your end for E3?
Yeah, I feel like Dak just kind of summed it up perfectly there. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm E3, we've had some ups, we've had some downs, but you've been someone that I've always appreciated over the years, and I'm always going to remember the good you did. But unfortunately, it's time to step down, and hopefully we can get something good in your place. But in the meantime, we'll remember you. I don't know if fondly is the right word, but we'll definitely highlight.
Definitely fondly.
Definitely remember
Yeah.
E3 fondly. We just spent fondly remembering it for the past 2 hours.
We'll remember E3 fondly, but not the ESA. How about that?
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
those guys, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
But okay, well, we're at the end of the road finally here, and I guess it's appropriate that we delivered a long episode because, again, I just want to remind everybody. No new episode next week. We're taking Christmas off. We will be back on the 2nd of January, so getting it started right away for 2024. Lots of cool stuff on the horizon. So excited about the next year in Omega Metroid. So that being said, everybody, again, just want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and safe New Year. And yeah, hope that Santa is good to everybody, and maybe you got some Metroid stuff under your tree or in your stocking. So if you do, tag us and let us know. We'd love to spread that around a little bit. You can tag us over on social media. We're at Twitter, at Omega Metroid Pod, at Spiteri316, at DaxCity_, at Doominalcross. And you can check out OmegaMetroid.com. There's guides, maps, all sorts of different stuff there, including a full archive of all of our episodes there, kind of detailed in category as well. So if you're looking for a little mapping Metroid, you can check it out. You're looking for a little Alien review, check it out, etc. So go check out OmegaMetroid.com for that. We got a Patreon where the Great Metroid Area ranking is rolling along. And yeah, of course, wherever you get your podcast, like, subscribe, recommend, rate, review. If you got a Metroid fan in your life, tell them about these 3 crazy dudes doing a weekly Metroid show. Never been done before.
Crazy.
Never been done since. So yeah, tell them about the Omega Metroid podcast. Now with that, everybody, we are getting out of here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we can't wait to see you back in 2024. Until then, everybody, take care.